Get this, adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Wondery. Greenlight.com/Wondery.
Did the Gopher men get to play in the Big Ten tournament?
Yes, they're allowing us to show up on Wednesday, just like the women's team. They play in the. They have this system now, Joe. It's a 14-team tournament, right? Yeah. If you're a top four, you don't have to play to the quarterfinals. If you're a bottom four, you have to start playing on Wednesday, and you would have to win 5 games to win it. And I don't like our chances.
Okay.
The Gophers, 14th. They were.
That's a bold prediction.
They were 12th in the women's, right? Because they played 13, I think, in Penn State. And but they're 14th, so they play Nebraska, and the other game is Nebraska, and the other Ohio State is in the other game. Ohio State, which is the flop of the year, but the Gophers are going to play Wednesday and play Nebraska, and there's a dang. I bet they didn't book a hotel after Wednesday.
Where is this being held?
Chicago, baby.
They're back. They're either playing in Indianapolis or Chicago, it seems. So,
but you know this.
We get it next year.
Next year, we are hosting it next year.
Women are here next year also. 2 years in a row.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know why that would be.
Well, we're applauding ourselves for the great attendance we had. Listen, you dummies. Over there. If Iowa had not been in the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the finals, you would have had 3,000 a session, not 9,000 a session. The reason you had good attendance is because of Iowa lasting for 3 rounds.
How'd the bars do there on First Avenue?
I don't know, but I talked to a bunch of Iowa people, and they were staying downtown at various places.
Okay.
So, I think that they're not dressed like they're going to Reusse Chris, but I would think that the joints did okay downtown. Right. So, but Caitlin Clark is an amazing player, and she packed them in, and did they put the beating on Ohio State in the final. They were up like 38-11 or something right out of the chute.
I was clicking between little men's basketball and spring training, so I didn't get to see any of the women's championship game.
What men's basketball were you watching?
Yesterday, we had Michigan playing Indiana, which was a good game, and then I was between that and baseball, and then I watched a fair amount of the Gopher game.
Men's college basketball this year is awful. And
I can't dispute
the Gophers could have performed a service, and I said this on Twitter, could have performed a service by beating Wisconsin and eliminate any possibility that horse poop team could advance. They're still on the bubble, Joe, even though they stink.
They do stink.
They stink.
You know what else they do? And they've been doing this for years. They take the page out of the Duke playbook. Oh, he took the charge.
Yeah.
No, he didn't.
Yeah. I saw the one guy was a great flop down at the stretch. But anyway, the was Gopher. I mean, Iowa packed a lot of people, and that was nice. But if Iowa wasn't playing, they would have had nobody there. So
yeah. But I will say this: I've, as Patrick knows, we've attended several Big Ten basketball tournaments.
As
in me and my family, my dad and his brothers. It's a great time. If you have a college basketball fan, the tournament's great because you get to go and the tickets are cheap. And
Are you going to Chicago?
Not this year, nope. But we will be going next year when it's in town. That'll be fun.
Sure. Where will it be held?
By then,
Target
we might
Center.
have moved up to 12th or 13th place.
Never know.
Instead of 14th. By the way, Lindsey Whalen getting fired should be Ben Johnson should realize that we all thought he had 4 years. I think he only has 3.
Is this the third year?
And no, next year's his 3rd. But they won't fire him now. But
and it looks like Jamison Battle and Cooper are both leaving the program.
Well, Cooper have been doing you a favor, and Jamison Battle is where's Cooper going?
I think they're both turning pro. I thought I read.
I was at a place last night watching children, and they have one of those TVs where I couldn't figure out how to watch the Gopher basketball game.
It was on YouTube it was on regular
FS1.
It was on regular TV.
FS1.
Yes.
Yeah.
I had no
They didn't-
chance for that. They had cartoons and this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, you got to push the grandkids out of the way and say, Grandpa
I said
gets
to the
the
kid,
TV.
I said, I want to watch the thing. And she couldn't find it either. So
She didn't look very hard.
not terrible.
She wanted to watch
Kept
it.
going back to Blue's Clues, I bet. Yeah.
No. So, anyway, no. I thought, okay, fire Lindsay. You don't have to do it on Thursday. You can wait till the Big Ten tournaments and tell the other coaches. So now the reporters spent 4 days asking all the coaches about what they think about Lindsay getting fired, and Scalia's here from Indiana, she transferred down there, and she's asked about Lindsay.
Right.
Amazing note from Scalia, by the way. Her and Lindsay have not talked since she transferred.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I don't know whose decision that was, but they had not had a conversation since she transferred.
Can
So,
we switch to hockey?
did we wrap up basketball? We might go back to the pro team, but yes, I think we wrapped up basketball.
Bill Guerin, the GM,
Yes.
he's a mechanic.
Okay.
He looks at the club and he said, your right rear shock absorber needs replacing. And then he said, your front ball joint where it connects to the tie rod, that's not just right. So here's that guy.
'Cause he's
and then here's this guy. And he patches things up, and I'm very impressed, and I think they're going to win the cup.
Well, he looks at the Western Conference now, and there's no super teams like there were.
Right.
Last year they were actually at about the same number of points, right? But they were 10, 12 behind Colorado, and they were fourth place most of the year. There's nobody. They could win the
They could win
West.
the division.
They could win the West. They're only like 4 or 5 points out of the top of the Western Conference, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I'm going to tell you.
Look at this.
They had a
man.
nice little 2-game road trip, huh?
Yes, they did. 3-0. They don't give up any goals. 2.4 goals per game. And they started off the year by giving up 8 a game, right?
What's 8 and how many? 8 and what is 11?
3.
They're 3 points out of first
In the West.
in the West.
In the whole West. Yeah.
They're 3 points behind Dallas.
And Dallas leads the division and the conference, right? Dallas leads the conference.
Right now, yes, they do. I think they're a point ahead of Vegas.
Vegas has 82 points, so Dallas is a point behind
Or a
Vegas.
point behind.
You know what Friday is, by the way?
I don't.
The 30th anniversary of Norm going to Dallas and
boy.
telling us
Holy
that he's
cow.
telling us that he's leaving.
God almighty. Whatever happened to him? He died?
He's still alive.
He is?
Still alive.
He
Still
got any
a
money?
dandy. He lives in Dallas. I suppose he sold the team
What did he
for a
sell that
profit.
for?
He didn't. He sold it way early. He sold it 15 years
Yeah.
ago, at least
Yeah.
20 maybe. But he's in his 80s. I looked it up. 83 or 4, something like
You mean
that.
Norm Greed.
Norm Green, yes. I don't know. I'm sure that Charles and what was the other dog's name? Charles.
I don't know. How good a club the Bruins?
Pretty damn good.
They're
How many points they got? 100 already?
They have 103 points. They're 49 and 8, and if you want to add the OTs, they're 49 and 13.
And guess what? They won't win the cup.
You don't think so?
They won't win the cup.
You think they're snake
It's
bit?
a random game. It's a random game. The greatest team.
Carolina's 41 and 12.
Yes, the East is the greatest team. But when you're in a good hockey town like Raleigh, North Carolina, that's tough. But
They've already won a cup there.
yes, they have won a cup. But that best Tampa Bay team of them all of them all. Now they've won 2 cups since then. But that team that was scoring at an unbelievable record pace, and they were running to 110 points or something, they got swept in the first round.
You're right.
Because they came out against Columbus. They had a 3-0 lead in the first. Come on, stop doing this to me. What are you doing here?
That pesky cell phone.
Stop it. That was my brother-in-law. But
Another family member who doesn't know what we do for a living.
No, does not know. I have any idea what to do. But they had a 3-0 lead.
Yep.
They blew the first game and against Columbus, against 8-seeded Columbus, and got swept by Tort. I think Tort was the coach.
Really?
The despicable Tort was the coach, and they swept them. So, I don't know. There's such a thing as being too good in that sport, right? Mm-hmm. You know.
May I ask a question? Because I was obviously a kid when this happened, and I swore off hockey, but I don't recall the situation entirely. So Green moves the team in '93.
Okay, 91. We make the trip to the Stanley Cup Finals.
That's right.
Miraculously.
Against the Pittsburgh.
Miraculously, we're 15th in the league. 15th in the league standings. The first 2 rounds they had, they have 68 points. I think they made the playoffs, something like that.
Okay.
Chicago and St. Louis both have over 100. And this was when they didn't give you the free points, too, right? You didn't get the free point like you do now. And they beat them both in 6 games. And then, was it Edmonton? Edmonton in the finals, and they beat them in 5. Mm-hmm. They were a machine. And then they win the opener in Pittsburgh when the guy sings the 14-minute national anthem. The whole crowd is screaming and hollering. Yep. They're still mad at B.J. Cooper or whatever his name is. And then they win the second, and they win the third here. They're 2 games from winning a cup.
Yep.
And before they, the Pittsburgh finally won the last 3. So yes, it was a miracle.
And Norm took him to Dallas because he wanted a new park.
Yes, he wanted them to give him a lot of money, or he wouldn't go downtown. They tried to get him to go downtown, and I don't blame him for not going downtown because they had a hockey press box that Sir Edmund Hillary couldn't have found. Mm-hmm. And, up here, 3 elevators, they had this thing up at the top, and it was not good. Plus, they had advertising conflicts with the Timberwolves, right? So...
And the thought of them sharing a space was not going to happen.
And then the fact that we discovered then that the female help in the front office needed track shoes. Right. That was a part of it too. Carrie Dietzick, who's now was being chased around the office and other things, and his wife was very upset. Mm-hmm. And wanted to get the hell out of here. But he wanted out of here because he couldn't get his stadium. Mm-hmm. Now, how he chose Dallas, because Dallas had an old arena, Reunion Arena. Mm-hmm. He went down there. They hadn't gotten their new arena yet, I don't think. But he chose Dallas and got out of here. And Norm and I had been pals, and then I wrote the column about Norm Greed.
I damn near got him to move to St. Paul, me and Ron Maddox. Mm-hmm. I told you that story, didn't we? Yeah. We'd take Norm Green to lunch at the St. Paul Grill, and you could still smoke indoors then.
Okay.
Maddox lights up a heater, and Norm Green looks at him and says, I'll give you $100 to put that cigarette out. Mm-hmm. And, of course, Maddox down there broke his hand trying to put the thing out to get the $100 and got $100.
Huh.
Yeah, when you're as good a shape as Ron, though, you could pound the hitters. It wasn't a problem.
Yeah.
So.
We failed in our efforts to get the North Stars to move to St. Paul.
Joe,
but that was part of the play. That was part of the threats Norm was using.
Joe, isn't it amazing, though, that in 1992 or 3, that the mover and shaker in St. Paul was Ron Maddox.
Right.
Ron had...
Who was Ron Maddox?
He owned a bar downtown,
okay.
City councilman. He had as much money as
me
down there. Maybe. Maybe. If we went out to lunch, I bought.
He had a lawnmower repair shop,
yeah,
too.
yeah. But he had no money, but he cared about St. Paul.
But, Pat, here's something even worse. Today, there isn't even a Ron Maddox.
Well, yeah, that's pushing the town, right? That's, you know, well, Melvin didn't want anything, but luckily they already got hockey. But, well, Coleman got involved in getting the
Norm
getting new arena.
did the good work to bring in the NHL
Yes,
with Nagley.
yes, he did.
Well, that's where I was going to go with this because according to this, he got into financial problems when he moved to Dallas, and then he sold the team 2 years after the move to Tom Hicks.
Only 2 years.
It was 2 years because the sale closed in early '96, but the transaction began in '95. And when the Stars won the Cup in '99, Hicks sent Green a championship ring in honor of his services to the franchise.
Well, he's still down. He still lives in Dallas,
Yep.
I think. So
What do you think he sold that club for?
That's what I was trying to look up.
probably $50 million, maybe.
If that.
Yeah. If
And
that.
what's it worth today?
Well, hockey teams are going to be selling for $1 billion too.
Yep.
Just like
You think
What,
so?
what did Seattle have to pay to get in the league?
700.
Yeah.
Vegas paid 600. Seattle paid 700.
Yep.
I think.
And Seattle and Vegas both have good clubs.
Yeah, Seattle's playing real
Isn't
good.
that something?
Yeah, Seattle next to this team will be the best marketed team in the league, though. They
They
got
got
the
the guy.
Wickies, they got Sperling as advisor, they got all the geniuses.
Mm-hmm.
These guys, they still got because of these guys, they still got little kids skating out there planting a flag, and everybody. Their marketing techniques have lasted for over 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
And as we were talking last week, now that they're good again, you can't, they play a game on a Sunday, there's 19,000 people there.
The marketing in Vegas. Now, Vegas is helped by the fact that it's Vegas.
Yes.
And there's tourists there all the time.
Yes.
But they had Montreal last night. Vegas beats Montreal 4-3. 18,00049 in a 17,300 seat building.
Do they still take about 20 minutes to introduce them?
They
with
must.
the lights
And they have
stuff
the
like that?
medieval warfare.
Well, you
and-
got to know there's a lot of Canadians who made the trip
Oh, yeah.
to go. This is our chance to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
So-
And I think if you look at the standings today, if the season were to end right now, you know who we'd be facing in the first round?
Who?
The Winnipegs.
Oh, we're beat them.
Well, but I'm saying, can you imagine a series of that driving up and down 29?
Last we playoff series. What was it? 3-4 years ago, they beat us in 5, right?
Because I went up there for Game 5.
They were old then, though.
But they were good.
Winnipeg's old now. They were good.
These
back then.
attendances are
Hockey
fabulous.
is the
They're
attendance.
just fabulous.
you know
Carolina, where was this played? Usually I can tell by the attendance. Carolina beat Tampa Bay 6-0. Attendance
think it was Tampa.
18,965.
But Carolina, as good as they are, has got to be packing them in too.
Well,
But
I think
it
that was in
Tampa.
Carolina.
I
I
think
think Tampa's got 19,000 seats.
I thought.
Look up where Tampa Bay and Carolina played
I
last
thought
night.
I read that. I thought I looked and was shocked that they beat them that bad in Tampa.
6-0. I'm thinking that was in Raleigh. Mm-hmm. I think Tampa can get a nice 19 grand in there.
Yeah, but they might have lowered the attendance too, like they did at the X. The X now says it's 17.9 or something.
Let me go back here. Schedule. Here we go. This was yesterday, Joe?
Yes.
Yeah, last night.
Tampa at Carolina,
Told ya.
6-rip.
Oh,
you.
okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, you know what I like about hockey
I like everything
and
about it.
basketball
I don't like
and
basketball.
baseball. Baseball. You know what I like about it?
Huh.
They put the home team on the bottom, like God intended.
How about soccer?
It's not like these dumbasses in soccer who, when it
You mean in the line score?
In the line score.
Well, then I was right. Carolina's on the bottom here.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm saying though, we do it the way
Oh,
America attended.
Things you
in
don't like.
soccer, you look.
Get your notebook
I
out.
despise it. In soccer, for instance, Joe,
Yeah.
if they're got it on the crawl,
here we go.
Yeah.
and Liverpool is playing Manchester
Things I don't like.
at Manchester,
Mm-hmm.
they got Liverpool on the right, and they got the home team on the left.
Is that wrong?
Hell yes.
All right.
Hell
Okay,
yes.
Joe, I need help phrasing this. You tend to be a journalist. How should I phrase this?
Soccer puts home team on wrong end. That's it.
But do you want it listed as Patrick doesn't like home teams not being listed on the bottom?
Patrick doesn't
Not like
like
home
incorrect line scores.
Yeah,
Okay.
home teams not being put it on the bottom. But, just because they do that in Europe doesn't mean ESPN, which, by the way, was a U.S. company when it started, doesn't. You know what, of all the things that happened over, you know what ESPN was most excited about over the weekend? That Liverpool beat Manchester United 7-0.
That's big.
I don't know where they played it, but they beat them 7-0. And what is wrong with them?
In any event, our boys are home tomorrow night hosting Calgary.
Yes, again.
And then they go to Winnipeg. And then this weekend, this is a really weird schedule. At San Jose in Arizona, you would have thought they could fix that up on
Because
this
we got
trip.
the
No, we got the hockey tournament.
we got the hockey tournament.
Right.
Yes.
And the Timberwolves, so long as there are characters like this Karl Anthony Towns, I'm not going to pay any attention to the NBA.
The NBA is pretty damn good this year, though.
I
That
have a
was good.
theory on Cat. Are you
I'd
ready
like
for
to
it?
hear it because he's showing some weak
He has
character here.
missed 45 games with a calf strain.
Grade 3. Are we up to grade 3
threes.
calf strain?
It better be amputation pretty soon.
I have a theory on Cat. So when Cat first was injured, some had speculated that it was a calf
month.
strain. He might be out a month or so.
Yeah, max.
Then we did realize, okay, this is a lot more serious than we initially thought.
Then we said 2 months.
And then Cat, who's got his own team of people that take care of Cat, said, hey, we might want to lay low. Then he realized, they think they're a better team without me. Then they traded my best friend. Now I'm going to pout. And I think
November
that is
28th
what's
was his
going
last
on.
game. I don't know.
That's
Who's
what I
his
think is
best
going
friend?
on. D'Angelo Russell.
That was way overrated, by the way.
What do you mean?
D'Angelo that was just some crap.
What do you mean?
I don't think they were hanging out. D'Angelo and Cat.
No, but he wanted him on the team.
Well, sure he did, but he's not pouting because he's not on the team.
Okay.
I don't think. It's
How can he
I don't
look at
know what
himself in the
hell's-
mirror?
I don't know what the hell's going on.
How can
you
he
know?
take
I can
hundreds
tell
of
you
millions
this.
of dollars
They're a
and not
better
play?
basketball team.
Then get rid of him.
I
Could you
think.
get rid of him?
I think they're going to
You
trade
know,
him.
yeah, but they'll by the time they can trade him, which is after July 1st, Nas will have signed elsewhere,
True.
the replacement.
True.
So Nas is going to get $100
He's a
million.
good player.
He's going to get $100 million from somebody. So the
100.
NBA salary cap, Joe, is more complicated than the NFL salary cap, which is you cannot figure out either of them. But you can't trade him because of when you signed him. You can't trade him till after July 1st. But I don't think there's a big market for him. Anybody who thinks you're going to get the same kind of ransom as the Utah Jazz got for the overrated Rudy Gobert is crazy. I don't know. It's a weird league, but it's been pretty good this year. And by the way, do you see who the hottest team in the NBA is?
The Knicks?
The New York Knicks, coached by Tibbs. And they've now won 9 in a row, the last 2 in spectacular fashion. And you know this workload thing that people used to be worried about with Cat? Mm-hmm. His star guard, Jalen Brunson, was hurt leg. He had a bad leg or something, didn't play. So his third guard, Emmanuel Quickly, came out. He got 38, and it was 2 overtimes, which means 58 minutes. Emmanuel played 55 and a half minutes, and including the last 44 and a half minutes. Tibbs, not worried about load management when he had a chance to win a game. He had a great quote. He said, "Winning is more fun than fun is fun."
Really? Who's the moron who had a gun in a club?
That was
Ja
John
Morant.
Morant, who had
Toronto
the gun in
guy?
the club. And by the way, what a feeble-looking gun!
Yeah.
Looked like a water pistol.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody
It'll still kill you.
Nobody from the hood's going to be afraid of you with that gun.
Oh,
they
yeah.
got a big gun. You know, you got a little tiny gun. You should
What's
have
the
been,
NBA going to do about that?
I think they've been investigating. I don't know what they're going to do. What can you do? Is somebody going to charge him with having a gun?
I mean,
in the
they
club?
changed the name of a team to be Precious. They got rid of the name Bullets.
That's true.
Yes, they did.
But you can't have a guy with a gun.
No, they're going to have him sit out for a while and try to address his problems. Apparently, he has emotional issues.
Oh, okay.
He's a hell of a player, though. Yeah. Wow. He can get to the basket better than anybody I've ever seen.
Oh, I remember what I was going to ask. Is St. Thomas, are they?
They're live. They're on. When do we start listening to this show?
Usually it's ready to go on the Garage Logic stream at 6 p.m.
Well, right now, change your channel to
What
Score
channel?
North and listen to St. Thomas game on the radio, 6 p.m. tonight.
But do they have a
6
chance to make the tournament?
Hey, that's
No.
on TV, too.
It's on
Oh, I don't
TV.
wonder if I get it, though. ESPN Plus?
No, you don't. You got to pay for
That's a subscription-based
I don't do
channel.
that.
subscription.
I don't know how.
No, they can't because they're not eligible.
Oh, I
They
suppose.
can win the
Okay.
tournament, but they're not eligible for postseason NCAA tournaments
Okay.
until another 4 years.
Are they
3
at
years.
Oral Roberts?
No, they're at Sioux Falls
Sioux
has
Falls,
the
yep.
Summit
Oh.
League tournament and draws like hell for it.
What size of arena is that in Sioux Falls?
I think they play it in the Pyramid, the 3,500 one, but maybe they got two of them. They might play it in the big one.
Okay.
I'm not sure. They got two of them down there that are nice. So.
Did you watch any of the
Well, wait a
Arnold
minute.
Palmer?
Can I ask one quick question about St. Thomas? Which program's in better shape right now? The Tommies or the Ghosts?
Well,
St. Thomas.
the,
I'm
the
serious.
computer, Ken Palm, has among 353 colleges, Division I, which is way too many. They are 200th, and the Gophers are 222.
Ooh.
And the Gophers, among the ones in the Power 5 or 6 conferences, if you include the Big East Power 6, only Louisville is worse.
Ooh.
Louisville's like 250. So Louisville,
But don't they have a bunch of probations and whatnot?
I don't know
going on
what
right
it is, but they're 4-25.
now? Ooh.
But they are the ones who are bringing in. They're supposedly going to get Evans, the guy from Dennis Evans,
Oh.
and their NIL money is a little more lucrative than the supposedly. And by the way, so we did get the kid from Cherry, Minnesota, the guard, who's supposed to be great. They should. He's a junior. They should say, I got to think a guy from Cherry who's the valedictorian can graduate early. Why don't you get down here because we need a guard bad. They have no guards, this Gopher team. No guards. So,
You want to tell me about your twins?
boy, I wish I knew something.
I have a prediction.
Okay.
I've watched a lot of baseball. Mm-hmm. The Twins are not only going to win the division, they're going to snap the
Postseason loss
the
streak.
postseason loss.
You
streak
don't
this
think
year.
Cleveland's going to win the division?
Nope. The Twins are good. I think the Twins are going to be good this
Yeah,
year.
but here's the deal. Kirilloff hasn't played.
Doesn't matter.
Buxton hasn't played.
That might be a problem.
Are they? Don't
and-
tell me they're protecting them.
Well, they have to.
They never play him. Correa's played twice.
But now you got this Taylor kid that's a good center fielder.
Yes, he is.
You're not
Can
putting
hit.
Kepler out there.
He can't hit, but he is a good defensive second fielder.
Yes.
Here's something else Reusse doesn't like.
Oh boy, we're adding to the list.
When
today.
Michael Taylor, the guy who's with Kansas City and he was in Washington, there were two Michael Taylors. So they started putting him in the box score as Michael A. Taylor, and then there was a Michael, I don't know.
B.
I
Michael
don't
B.
know.
Taylor.
What was it? Michael B. Well, I looked it up. The other Taylor has been out of the league since 2017. We don't need the A.
No.
We still give him the A.
Yeah,
I got it.
We don't. Now, do we go back into history and like some guy in 1927 was named Peter Smith? And now there's a Peter Smith now, so we have to give him a middle name.
Yeah.
And That guy's been out of the league for 6 years.
I already have it.
All right.
Things I don't like.
Yeah.
Unnecessary middle initials.
Yes,
Perfect.
right, in
yes.
the box score. Yes, it's 6 years
That's
later.
right, Pat.
What's
You're
the
right.
statute of limitations on putting this in the box score? I looked it up. It irritated me so much. And I sent an email. Not an email. I sent a text to Dustin Morris. I sent a text to Bill Miller, a ball writer. A couple other guys that said, get rid of the A.
Right.
The guy's been out of the league for 6 years.
Well, but wait a minute. What
He
if
comes up to bat, Michael A. Taylor.
What if this would have played out though with Joe's theory back in 2011? They sent us the wrong Nishioka.
Yes, right. They did.
We needed a middle initial to make sure we got the right.
We got the wrong one.
We got the wrong Nishioka.
That was the starting of the. That was the.
Oh,
start
that was
of
the
it all.
beginning of the
That
end.
was the
Oh, yeah.
beginning of the end.
Oh, yeah.
All of it. I mean, it's the Nishioka era. Those 4 seasons.
My favorite was when Gardy went out and put his arm around Nishi's shoulder
brought
and
him off
said,
the field.
we can play this with 8
Yeah,
people.
yeah, we might.
We can just go with
might.
8.
When he got hit by the ground
Right,
ball, right?
right,
He damn
right.
near got killed by
Wasn't
the ground ball.
that what TK said to Dark when we picked him up at the airport?
My favorite TK baseball knowledge. TK, for some reason, TK picks up Dark at the airport. He's going to have him stay with him during spring training, which is amazing tolerance. But he wanted somebody to go to the dog track with him, So, and he says, "Hey, how's it going? TT, they haven't played yet. They've been there for like 6 days and watching." And he says, "How's it going?" Yeah, TK says, "Yeah, it's okay." He wasn't managing any, he's
Advisory
the
role.
advisor down there. And they get about halfway out of the terminal. He says, "Japanese kid can't play."
It's going all right.
played
Take him long to
Casually
notice,
as
did
he
it?
said it.
hasn't played an exhibition game yet.
Can't see it, and it's going to fall for a double. Nishi just looking up. He had his glove up by his eyes, and then at the last minute just put his palms out, and the ball landed in front of him.
He couldn't play.
Couldn't see it. Well,
The wrong Nishioka.
That's the wrong Nishioka. That's like Pierce. That's like Harry.
Yeah.
Jimmy. When Jorge Orta lost the ball, he says, Jimmy, how can a guy who grew up in Mexico lose a ball in the sun? Jorge Orta. You don't hear that on the broadcast.
I don't think
really.
you'd get away with
No.
that these
You
days.
don't hear that. But it's a good question.
Yeah, that's
It's
fair.
a damn,
That's very
damn
fair.
good question.
Does the World Baseball Class, does that start this week?
Yes,
I don't know.
tonight, Tuesday. No, Tuesday.
Tuesday night.
I think the first game. The first game involves the hated Netherlands.
Okay.
I don't know if we haven't read anything about Bert serving as their pitching
that's
coach.
good.
He must have hung around.
I did see a thing on Piazza's coaching the team Italy.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, Tommy, he can steal Tommy's techniques maybe from him. What was he? He was some sure-tail relative of Tommy's.
I don't
wasn't he?
remember.
Like a third cousin.
Oh, yeah, I
nephew
think
or
you're right.
something
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
you're right.
Yeah, that's why they drafted him 61st round.
That was value. That was a good value pick.
Yes, it was a good
Pat,
value pick.
Kitayama wins the Arnold.
I watched quite a bit of it.
Did you see
Boy,
the payout for first place?
$3 million, right?
$3,600,000.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a designated event.
This is a live deal here.
It's the new. There's designated events. Yes.
This is why you want to be in live when you see this is beyond me.
And how about the way Arnie's golf course, by making the greens lightning fast and growing rough, how about it holds up? The
Boy, it's a
winner's
tough
9
course.
under. The winner's 9 under. You see, this is why the modern audience for social media and everything, they really agitate me. Because I went to Twitter and said, Arnie's course is really holding up well. The winner's 9 in. I said, and I'm not surprised because the 4 or 5 times I played it, I found it very tough too, and I always had to try to figure out how much yardage to cut off on number 6.
Right.
I usually went with a -12, you know. So nobody got it.
Yeah.
You didn't get it. You're dummies. You're dummies.
All right, I don't like people that don't.
I've been during a spring training trip. I was at that course.
Did you play it?
I didn't play it.
Oh, yeah. Well, when I first played it, it was new almost.
Yeah.
Snakes all over the
I don't
place.
like that.
A lot of serpents.
Arnie, they all said, had a 410 in his golf bag.
Yep.
And when he'd go out and the water moccasins would be sunning themselves on the back of the tees, he'd shoot a couple of water moccasins and chase them back.
You know,
into the
you see
water.
on the aerial shots of that area, you see these really neat lakes
Yes.
where people have boats and docks and
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Aren't there gators in there?
Oh, God, yeah.
I'm not swimming in that
yeah,
lake.
Yeah, there's moccasins.
They
too,
got
probably.
creatures.
Yeah, oh, they do. But I wouldn't. A gator you can see.
Oh
I
no,
wouldn't
they
mind
go
it.
underwater.
I know, but you get a hint that there's a gator around.
Well, you could
I
get a
think.
hint, maybe.
A snake, they can be anywhere.
It's right. They could be under the dock and you don't see it.
This will surprise you,
Yeah.
but I hit a ball in the right jungle.
That does surprise me.
In the first, it looked like the first cut of the right jungle.
Right.
And I walked over
no.
to see if I could get my golf ball. And there was a snake, and he was kind of wrapped around this little tree.
I don't do
I
that.
never came near
No.
If I didn't hit it down the middle, I just hit another one. You know,
Not going after it.
anything near the snakes was not for me.
Is that a private course?
Oh yeah, it is.
All right.
But it's held up amazingly
Yeah.
well.
It's
and
gorgeous.
Of course, Tiger's Spot Lake, whatever it is right next to it. Right?
Let me,
Nona?
Yeah. There.
Let me ask you a question. Was that the same spring training trip where you were caught busting up the coffee beans in the driveway?
No,
with
that
your
was
drive-by?
just recently I did that.
What was that?
I stayed at Dawson's place and he didn't have a coffee maker
grinder.
or grinder, and I bought beans thinking, I don't know, I thought when I bought
You
the
figured
beans, I
he had
thought,
a grinder. Why wouldn't a guy have a
no,
grinder?
when I bought the beans, I thought they were ground up.
Yes, okay.
And I made a mistake. They weren't. So I took them out to the driveway and started beating them with a putter.
What Mrs. Dawson think about that?
He
Did they
quickly
were staining his driveway? Or
he quickly gathered me up and said, "You just can't do that. You can't go out on the street and start beating up coffee beans. Doesn't really work well."
But the nice thing about Dawson is he has a real he's easy on other people.
he was very
He's not the
officious
kind of
about
guy.
it.
He's not the kind of guy to point out someone else's blunders.
Right? No. I can't repeat what he said, but he said, "You can't do this."
Has he softened with old
Oh
age,
yeah,
or is he
yeah.
still the smart ass of all time?
He's a smart ass, but he's a nice smart ass.
Oh my God.
He's a good
Nicer smart ass
Yeah,
than he used
yeah,
to be. 'Cause
yeah.
Of course, he was Buck Harvey from San Antonio,
Yeah.
and the
He
greatest,
almost got us
the
killed.
greatest ever Reusse Such prank of the
Club's
Reds
moving to San
the
Antonio.
team.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. People were calling and saying that better be a joke.
And until a fellow who sounded like he was an African American, and sounded like
He was
a
angry
big Viking fan.
and a very angry.
Called us and basically said, if you SOBs are playing this as an April Fool's prank, I'm going to come down and beat the hell out of you. And we said, we'll be back after the show. We'll be back for the 11 o'clock hour with an announcement. Being the cowards that we were.
What
we
year
didn't
was
last
that?
long, did we?
What year was that?
Oh, I don't know. It was in the 2000s.
I mean, it was.
Was it before Red bought the team?
Oh no! It was Red was moving
Red was
going to
move him.
Oh, okay. So Red
was
had
gonna
acquired
move
him.
the team like a year later, and they were, you know, stop that!
Well, turn it to the silent part.
God damn!
Here we go.
Oh, dang it.
What's with the case you got? It looks like a 12-year-old girl put that case on there.
I had to get it different than the wife's, so
We can differentiate the phones.
You see him around.
You know what we did? She's got the phone that's about twice the size of mine.
Yeah.
That's how we know that one's hers and
I
this
can't
one's
do
mine.
that. It's got to fit in my back pocket.
See, I wanted the smaller one. I don't want the. She wants the big one because it had more storage for pictures and whatnot.
Okay.
She got some pictures of the kids on there?
Oh my God.
Okay.
Only about 25,000 each.
I got about 30 of them by the grandkids, so from their youth, so they can taunt them with them, send them to them, and say, "Let's."
Patrick, I saw this on social media. And I couldn't believe it. 17 years ago today,
What?
Puck died.
Oh, that's right.
17 years?
17
March
years
6th.
ago. 06.
I cried.
Oh, I did too, man.
I didn't. I don't do that, but I did. I was.
Now, how long had it been that we discovered he had the stroke until he died? Was it just a day or two?
No, I think it was March 5th.
So it was just the day
He
before.
was dead the next day. Yeah.
Wow.
So the stroke was on March 5th then. Huh?
Okay. I know he died on the 6th. That I know because they had the big ceremony at the Dome and it was in an ice storm. I remember that.
Yeah, and.
I remember I had to go back downtown and write. I was upset.
Yes, I was upset, man. It's so how many years? 17.
17.
Yeah. Wow. He was. The Twins let me fly back in the plane that they put the players on,
Okay.
and Smalley was on it, and Gladdy was on it, and a few of them, and they started telling Puck stories for those 2 hours.
My God.
Man, they were it was everybody was laughing through their upset,
Through their emotions, for sure.
and then they took him right to they took us right to the service.
How are his kids doing, I wonder? I hope they're doing all right.
Probably well. The daughter is a very tall, gorgeous young lady, and his son is active on Twitter and stuff.
Well,
like
didn't
that.
they do something? Was it last summer at Target Field? I thought his kids were back for some ceremony.
Maybe the Hall of Famers or something.
Maybe it might have been that. Because we put Cott in the Hall of Fame.
What was the missus? Tanya?
Tanya.
Yeah.
And she moved on, I take it. And
I don't know if she's remarried or not, but it was. Oh man,
The Puck stories, huh?
unbelievable.
there were a few.
Well, I did say
They
this.
were having the family. My favorite is, and they were having the family feud. You know that happens with couples.
Right.
Sure.
Yes, you
a game of
disagree
slosh.
on something, and Puck was leaving, and she didn't want him to leave.
Right.
So this was in the old house out at Edinburgh, and he was trying to leave, and she'd press that little button that lowered the garage door
Right.
before he left. So he backed her out through the garage door. And he was on, before he got to the end of the driveway, he was calling up his garage door guy and saying, "We need a new garage door out." That's how you win the argument.
He took care of it, didn't
he did. And that's, that most of us don't have that kind of financial wherewithal or desire to
Need
leave.
a new garage door.
Yeah, right. We need a new garage door. What a beauty. I remember, who's the rookie player that always says, Trombley?
Mike Trombley.
Trombley says, "Okay, Puck, I got my first big league cash." He said, "Oh, you want me to cash it for you?"
Pulls out the wad of
Pulls out
cash.
the wad of cash. He wasn't doing it to be a jackass.
No,
either.
but
He was just
Trombley, he tweets about it every now and again. He says, "I was so excited, and I was just sitting in my locker staring at my first big league paycheck." And Puck says, "First check, huh?" He says, "Yeah. You want me to cash it for you?"
you imagine what he'd be worth if he was 25 years old today?
Unbelievable. But he ran the NCAA pool all the time. And there were 64 spots. And I think he's charging 50, but it might have been 100. So whatever it was. But I know one year he had 5,000 invested to win 3. It was very important to him to win.
So he
bought all the good teams. Very important for him to win, even though he was going to lose $2,000 on the.
So a year that a team like Butler would make it to the championship, he'd be sweating.
No, that would have probably not. That probably would have. When Butler made it, that had to not win it would have been terrible. That's That's like my favorite Joe Driscoll story. That when I wrote the baseball guy that was a pull tab fanatic.
Yeah.
And there was, what are they? The
He
one,
bought the squares.
The $5.99 one.
Yep.
Right? I think there's 44 squares. He bought them all, and then this woman was in the bar, wanted to buy one, and she bought it from him, and she got it from him, and she won. So they had it posted in the bar. It's Joe Driscoll's greatest embarrassment in his pull tab. He was a pull tab fanatic, and he owned 43, she owned 1.
And she won.
You know, we gave you way more than you deserve again today.
I think so. I really do. A lot of knowledge. You know, what are you going to do?
A lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
A lot of laughs. We found out 2 more things I don't like.
That's true. We added to the Reusse list.
You better never lose that list. No.
You have heard me discuss my relationship with Josh Arnold for some time. The reason I advocate that you give Josh a call is simple. Trust and results. Josh has seen it all when it comes to economic and market conditions. As has been said through all of our relationship, past results do not guarantee future returns. And while that is true, Josh can make sure that your retirement objectives match your investments. You can understand that Josh will make sure you are not paying more in fees than you are seeing in returns. Yes, that is more common than you would like to think. Do yourself a favor and have a booking with Josh for the 48-minute free evaluation. This is a no-obligation meeting. Call Josh at 952-925-5608. You will be glad that you did.
Investment services offered by Josh Arnold Investment Consultant, LLC, a security investment advisor. Past performance is no guarantee of future results. All investments involve risk. All comments and opinions are Josh Arnold's and do not constitute investment advice.
Patrick Reusse is a paid endorser.